Hey guys, this is Mathman Science Baker back here with another video, and I'm actually doing a different kind of style. I'm actually showing my face, so yay, here I am, hello. It's kind of a bit weird just me filming a bit of paper with me writing. It wasn't very fun, so I thought I'd do some hand gestures because that's what people like and it makes it interesting. I'm really worn out, but I thought to do some of that and also talking about atoms. So let's get right into this. Okay, so what are atoms? Atoms are essentially the smallest particle making up elements. So essentially what you want to think them as is kind of building blocks for everything. So everything has atoms in it. So just grab this chair that I've perched you upon. This will have atoms in it. Everything has atoms in it. Atom galore. So what is inside an atom? So if we were to sort of cut an atom and have a look inside, what would we find? Well, the traditional diagrams that you would probably see if you're in school, maybe even in college, is that you would have the nucleus, which is essentially the middle bit of the atom, and you would have rings going around. So in these rings you would see these little dots, and they would be called electrons. Now, electrons, they live on the shells. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. They live on the shells, and essentially they have a -1 charge. Now, electrons are quite interesting because however reactive an atom is will depend on its electron sort of status. So what you'll find with group 1 elements, their atoms will essentially have 1 electron on the outer shell, so they'll be dying to get rid of that. So when they do, when, say, like for example, a group 7 comes along, an element from group 7 comes along, and then an element from group 1 comes along, group 1 will say, aha, the gender neutral atom over there has 7 electrons in the outer shell, and I have 1. Now, atoms want to have a full outer shell, even if they give 1 or they take 1. They want to have a full outer shell. So then that atom the atom from group 1 will say, okay, I'll just give it. An atom from group 7 will go, yes, please, boom, yes. They all have a full outer shell. So, and then when a atom gives or receives an electron, that makes a reaction. Hence why group 1s are quite reactive. The alkaline sort of metals, metals and stuff like that. And group 7 are quite reactive because they want to take 1. So the protons. So we've done the electrons, -1 charge. Basically, they I'm learning this with you, so you know, they basically determine how reactive an element is going to be, and they're found on the outer shells. So now we're going to get into the middle, which is the nucleus. Now, this is the part that weighs the most. You know, when we're weighing up atoms, we don't usually, unless you're doing a very specific kind of calculation on the mass of an atom, we don't usually include the electrons because the electrons weigh so little. They weigh the least out of protons, neutrons. They weigh the least, and that is actually 1/1838. So you know, that is absolutely tiny. That is so bloody small. And I thought I didn't weigh that much, but at least I'm not an electron. I was probably like floating away with the wind. But anyway, back on track. I'm going somewhere else now. So essentially, in the middle of the nucleus, you'll find protons and neutrons. Now, protons have a +1 charge. This is easy to remember because pro is like plus. You're feeling positive. You're pro something. You're like, yeah. Neutrons, well, neutral. Neutrons have just a 0. They don't have a charge at all. And the number of protons is the same as the number of electrons. So, for example, you have 5 protons, you'll have 5 electrons. So yeah, and the protons and the neutrons weigh the same amount, so they have equal mass. So proton. So if you've got one proton, one neutron, they weigh the same amount. And the periodic table basically arranges the elements in groups and also in groups. So the group number will always be how many electrons there are in the outer shell. So group 1, 1 electron in the outer shell. Group 2, 2 electrons in the outer shell. Group 7, 7 electrons in the outer shell, etc., etc. I'm not going to go over every single group. And the elements are also put in basically the most radioactive, not radioactive, what I'm talking about, the most reactive order. So for example, at the top of, so in group 1, you'll basically start with most, sort of the least reactive, and then you'll go down, and get more reactive. And that's why in class for practicals and things, you'll only be able to test out about, I think it's 3, the top 3 you'll be able to test out. And that is, I don't remember this off by heart, I think sodium is one of them. That's my periodic table. Periodic table. No, not you. Periodic table songs, some of those cheesy science things you have. Yeah, so you won't do hydrogen because hydrogen is like just dumb, really. So we'll do lithium, sodium, yeah, and potassium. Sodium, lithium, and potassium. No, lithium, sodium, and potassium. Lithium, sodium, and potassium. So that's what we would do. Lithium, sodium, and potassium. And all of the group 1 elements are sort of very violent when they come into contact with water. So you'll probably have like a plastic screen that goes around a glass or a plastic container with water. Then you'll drop your stuff in there and it will go and it will fizz and pop and stuff. So lithium, if you put lithium in, it will kind of do a little bit of fizzing, you know, not really that exciting, but it will fizz kind of a little bit violently. And then you have sodium, Na, well, lithium is Li, and then sodium is Na. So you'll have sodium. Now sodium just some fizzing, but at the end it might go into sort of like a yellowy, orangey kind of flame thing, which is quite cool. And then you will have, is that potassium? God, I can't remember. Henry's horrible at the moment. Potassium, yep. So then you have potassium, when you put that in, it goes boom. It's quite cool. It's like fireworks. It's really, really, really cool. So yeah, and obviously how you draw an atom. So you have the nucleus, which is the number of protons and neutrons. Then you have the outside, which is the electrons that you put on. So the first shell, so you have your nucleus, then you have your first shell. That will only have 2 electrons on there. Then the rest of the shells will be able to have as many electrons as you want to put on them. Oh no, you have to put 8. There are 8 electrons on a shell, 8 electrons per shell, if you will. And I think that's all I'm going to do for now. There is quite a lot that I haven't touched on, but this is just like a quick little overview for the people doing like secondary school. I thought this would be kind of useful for you guys, or girls, or whatever you are nowadays. So, yeah, anyway. Thanks for joining, and if you want anything else, maybe a little bit more on atoms, or perhaps something on atomic orbitals, I'm doing that at the moment. It sounds complicated, but once you get your head around it, it's actually quite easy. It's mainly sort of drawing the diagrams and stuff that I can go through with you guys. More than happy to. Anyway, thank you very much, and I will hopefully see you for another video. Don't forget to subscribe and like and comment and blah blah blah, all that good stuff. Anyway, bye!